How do we make the best decisions possible? That is, how do we make the most skillful decisions possible? Oftentimes, you'll see me here in these videos weaving this idea in as I share stories and talk a lot about different things. And today, we are going to get crystal clear and focused on this topic. Again, having to do with making the best decisions possible, something I think is more important than ever as we are here at a very important time in history, a time when our own selves are deeply hurting. We're unhappy, we're suffering from physical and mental ailments. And at the same time, the world around us is suffering deep, deep consequences, all stemming from this same root that I talk about often, keeping us focused here on how we navigate this space, how, as we walk through these very difficult times, can we be skillful with our actions? So there's a way we were all taught to do this, right? There's a way we were taught to use our heads, to be as smart, as focused as we can, right? And to learn, right? This was something we learned to do, was to call upon data, to look to hard data. And maybe you're a scientist or some form of scientist, engineer, person working in the field of data. And maybe you're collecting data yourself, or maybe you work in a way that you get to call upon the data that others has collected. Regardless, it all comes down to this numbers game, right? This ability to quantify our problems and quantify the workings of the world, and to bring this all in, right? To bring this all in into our headspace. Now we have technology to help expand our headspace, to help us compute. And it's all beautiful. It's all beautiful that we have this technology, that we have these methods, that we have statistics, and all these wonderful ways that we can use these brilliant human minds that we have to make the best decisions possible. What I have to teach has nothing to do with getting rid of that. It has everything to do with expanding on that, expanding on our ability as human beings to tap into more. What is really alive here as we're focused on a particular problem, or we find ourselves in a situation with multiple problems? What is really alive here? Knowing we can use our heads to call upon data to help us make these decisions. And also learning, right? This is a new learning opportunity, a new skill that we get to develop at this point in time. Learning to feel, to sense into what is alive here. What is alive in this moment? Knowing we're going to take in sounds, right? We're going to take in voices. We're going to use our eyes to maybe read something. Again, all these ways we already know how to take in information, to process it in our heads. Now, getting to tune into the rest of ourselves. Step into a fully embodied experience. So, what is that? What does it look like to live fully embodied? It involves learning to feel again, to be with these sensations that are in our bodies. So here's the problem. It's that we were taught that this is taboo. We were taught that our minds, our human minds, the most brilliant thing on this planet, they get to sit on top of the pedestal. And as our human mind sits on top of the pedestal, as we were taught, it's so important to disconnect from our bodies. It's so important that we don't feel, because feelings are distractions and emotions are just going to send us off course and make us make bad decisions and take actions that aren't the most skillful. And there's certainly threads of wisdom in that. We all know cases of what it's like to act on emotion that causes deep, deep harm. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is being in a space where we're capable of being with all of it, of recognizing thought patterns, of recognizing emotions, of taking it all in, because it's all beautiful information that can help us serve a moment. So just like we were taught not to act on thought patterns, right? Because, maybe not all of you, but many of you have probably been in the meditation space, and Meditation 101 teaches you to recognize your thoughts, and we don't get caught up in our thoughts and take action from this space. That's not skillful, because our thoughts, they kind of do their own thing. They go off on repeat. They sometimes take us to bad places. And it's the same thing with our emotions, right? Sometimes they're just kind of doing their own thing. And we have all these different parts of ourselves that present themselves in any one moment. So how do we make the most skillful decisions possible? How do we take the most skillful action that actually leads to beneficial outcomes and minimizes the harm that's put out into the world? We learn to take it all in. We learn to be with all of it, to recognize the different forms of information that are available to us in any one moment, and to be able to discern, right? Given all of this, how do we make the best decisions possible? And it's an art, and it's a skill, and it's something we get to develop over time, right? We develop this ability to make better and better decisions over time. The way we don't do it, right? We're done with this. We're moving forward, right? We're releasing the old systems and structures and ideas and beliefs that perhaps served us to some degree, but now are perpetuating the harm that's caused in the world. And we don't have time. We don't have any more time to continue to cause harm in this world. We have to be in action. We have to now be in action to truly solve our problems. And we don't do that. We do not do that by disconnecting from our bodies, by refusing to feel, by refusing to spend time with our emotions. Because when we do that, two things happen. First, in that moment, we miss out on important information. Feelings arise, emotions arise for a reason. And if you're going to make a decision, you need to know, oh, that feeling bubbling up in my body, it's here to tell me something. And maybe it directly informs that decision. Or maybe, and this is leading into number 2, maybe what you've been doing, and I say this given my own experience, what I had to deal with given a realization that this is what I had been doing, was year after year after year of pushing those emotions away, right? Disconnecting from feelings. They don't disappear. They continue to live on, maybe not up in our conscious awareness. So we're able to, for a while, live up in our heads and tell ourselves we're making the most skillful decisions possible. All the while, all this stuff that wants to be heard isn't getting heard. And so it lives here in our bodies. It lives in our bodies, unbeknownst to us, and it ripples up. It ripples up. And we can tell ourselves that we aren't ruled by our feelings and emotions, but we are. And if we're disconnected from them, they're going to surface. They're just going to surface without our conscious awareness. And they're going to drive us to make unskillful decisions. And we've already established that we don't have time for that anymore. We're done with that model. We're done with living in this space that is unskillful decisions that cause harm. While we go off and tell ourselves how brilliant we are and how we're saving the world, meanwhile, our deep stuff is bubbling up and continuing to perpetuate this deep, deep suffering in the world. And we're done with that. And we get to be done with that by doing this simple, not necessarily easy, but simple thing that is reconnecting, being with the fullness of who we are, learning to take in all the information that's available to us in a moment, and building up that art and skill that is discernment so that we can get better and better and better at making the most skillful decisions possible. There we go. A much shorter video for you today. If you like this shorter, straighter, to the point type of video, please let me know. Leave a comment. As always, please leave a like. And if you have not, hit that subscribe button so we can continue to build this community of individuals who are fully intent on healing ourselves, our communities, our ecosystems, and our beloved planet.